Good morning. What a beautiful morning it is. One thing you may notice is I am travelling extremely light this morning. So I'd like to say that this challenge has been set on purpose, but it hasn't. I forgot my big tripod. And because of that, this tripod, little gorilla pod, has now struggled. And yeah, it's not in very good shape. It's only down to 2 legs now. This is a bit heavy for that little GoPro, that little gorilla pod. But the conditions this morning are absolutely mind-blowingly beautiful. The sun is coming up in this direction just over here, and I'm starting to get these beautiful clouds on the horizon. So I can only imagine what's going to happen to the rest of the valley over this way once that sun does come a little bit higher. Also, there is an inversion forming in the bottom of the valley. As that sun gets higher, what's happening is the pressure is pushing the fog down into the bottom of the valley, and it's causing the most beautiful light. Now, the challenges for me this morning is capturing the best of this only using a camera with no tripod. And if any of you follow my videos, you will know that I always use a tripod, always. So I'm going to be using different things, like maybe a backpack or something like that, but it's going to be really difficult to exposure blend. Like last night I tried to do some astral photography with mixed amounts of success, but having a tripod that can stand still for, oh my god, the midges this morning, genuinely. But having a tripod that has to stand still for about 15 seconds without having a tripod is a nightmare, absolute nightmare. But I am starting to waffle. It's very early and it is incredibly beautiful, like incredible. And I've got a few shots in mind. This should be a good morning, so stay tuned. I'm happy. I hope you are. Right, let's go and get it. So the first shot I'm thinking about is something that involves these reeds just over here. I think they make a nice little bit of foreground interest. But obviously, the settings for this are going to be completely different to what I normally use. So I'm going to use this as my foreground interest. And I've got some lovely rocks just off in this direction here. So I might use them as leading lines into my reeds, a bit of foreground interest. And then I've got the mountains, the Langdale pikes. And look at them, aren't they absolutely incredible? Like, they scream that perfect composition, that perfect image. You know, what you go out for when you're a beginner photographer and when you're a little bit more experienced. So the first thing I'm going to be doing, as I mentioned settings before, is I'm going to be making sure that I'm in autofocus, and I'm going to have my vibration control turned on. These are settings that I never really normally play with because I always use a tripod. Like, always use a tripod. And not just a small tripod, but a Manfrotto aluminium 055 tripod. So a big, heavy tripod. That's what I'm used to. But today, handheld, which is going to be super weird. So what I'm going to be tested by is getting that perfect composition, the perfect exposure where my highlights have got enough detail in it that I can recover them, and that I've got enough detail in the shadows, enough dynamic range that I can still bring them shadows up. So it's going to be very different to my normal photography. Normally, I expose for every single element, take them into a computer, and then blend them together. But not today. So as you can see from that shot I just captured there, the highlights are super bright, and them shadows are very contrasty, but there's enough information in that contrast. Like if you watch this picture here, I'm gonna lift them shadows and look at them rise, and then as I drop them highlights, look at that, I'm managing to recover all of that detail. And today is going to be a shot to recover detail. So I'm going to wait around a little bit longer, see what happens with this colour in the sky, the inversion, and see if I can find any more compositions. Because today is beautiful, absolutely mind-blowing. But I'm very conscious of the fact that I don't want that to be my only shot this morning. And if I can, I want to include some of that fog that's forming in the bottom of the valley, because it's pretty epic. The only other problem is though, is all of the clouds seem to be going that way, but the sun's travelling from that way, and I want the Langdale pikes as my focal point. I think that might make a nice little composition, just for a second shot. This little road with the mountain, and that car giving scale. So I'm going to quickly switch over to my wide angle, and let's get a shot of this road coming round and this little summit just over there. Make it more about the fog in the valley. So I've got this lovely little grass knoll just in front of me here with some lovely little flowers, and I'm going to use them as my immediate foreground interest. But they're obviously going to be really, really blown out, and I'm not going to be able to do a focus stack because I'm handheld, which might sound stupid, but you know, it's true. It's a shame. So I'm going to get that little grassy knoll just in the immediate foreground, and then I'm going to focus on the top of the mountain and get that shot, and that looks... Okay, I'm going to miss out that grassy knoll because I don't think it added. So one thing I am going to be doing a lot is I'm going to be looking at the back of my camera, and I'm going to be checking my histogram and making sure nothing is in this folder here. It can be a little bit, but if I've got a huge amount of information here, that means I've got information that could be lost. And I don't want any information lost at all, because that's going to be really bad for a beautiful morning that we're about to have. But what I'm mainly doing now is just trying to work out my composition, because I've got a herd of midges flying over my head, and I've got an incredible view in front of me, but it's just not quite there yet. It's about to get a whole lot better, it really is. Because look at that mist forming in that valley. Just needs that light. So I'm going to carry on wandering around and see if I can find another composition. Maybe one that doesn't involve a road. But I just don't know what to put in there. I don't want to walk too far, because today is going to be a day filled full of hiking. This herd of midges is ridiculous. It reminds me of being in Scotland. But isn't that absolutely incredible? I tell you what, I'm going to leave you with a little time lapse just while I work out what's going on. I might even go back to my reed shot, my first shot this morning. Yeah, I'm just going to get that as my shot, because it's quite nice. It's quite nice. So I'm going to get my reed shot as my first shot. I'm going to go and get set up, work out the ins and outs, set you up a little bit of a time lapse, and then let's see what happens. So the sound quality might not be anywhere near as good, but I just wanted to stop and have a little look at that view behind me. And don't get me wrong, I have shot the hell out of that view behind me, and it has been great. It has been absolutely amazing. I've got so many shots, but I'm gonna finish this finish this video back at home, where I review the shots and talk about my experience using handheld and having no tripod, and whether I thought it was of benefit. And a little sneak preview: the creativity not having a tripod was incredible. But the vlog, this vlog is over now. Oh no, sorry, I'm gonna finish this vlog at home. So I'll see you back at home. See you there. But I'm gonna carry on filming here, and I think I'm gonna film more of a walking, exploring vlog, getting to the location that we're going to tonight to go and photograph sunset there. So a bit more of an adventure vlog rather than this is photography, how to use a camera. So hopefully you'll stay tuned for that. It should be out next week, and yeah, I reckon it might be all right, and it might be more of what is to come, signs of what is to come. But look at that, the Langdales. That is absolutely magnificent. Anyway, I'll see you at breakfast location for the guys that are going to watch next week's. For those of you that are watching this week's, enjoy this, and I'll see you back in the office. Yeah, confusing. So, welcome to, yeah, made it to the, I'd say my office, but it's definitely more of a sitting room. But yeah, I wanted to come back and I wanted to spend a couple of minutes, not too long, just sort of talking about the shots that I captured and why I captured them and what drew me to them, and the pros and cons of not having a tripod. So I was saying in the video when I was out on location that I had to be able to balance my highlights versus them shadows, and luckily the camera that I shoot on, the Nikon D810, has got such a massive dynamic range. For quite an old camera, it does really well. So you'll see that in the edited versions of these shots. So the first shot I'm going to start off with is the first shot that I captured that morning, and it's this shot right here. Let's go to side. So I've edited this, and you can see I've got that information in the sky, I've got that colour. I did have to drop the highlights quite substantially, and then also using some dodging and burning to maybe to bring some of that colour out of that sky. And with the foreground, I lifted up them shadows, but not too much. But what I did is I've got these little line of rocks coming down the middle, and I chose to lighten them that little bit more so that it would guide your eye through into the mountain. And I really liked that first shot. Now the second shot, I wanted to go that little bit wider and really try and include more of that mist. So I think the shot's nice. I did decide to take away the car. It kind of distracted from the mountain. I didn't like the fact that it was just like, boom, mountain. Whoa, what's that? Little white car. So I got rid of the little white car, and I'm much happy with the composition. It might still get lightened a little bit, but I'm super happy with that composition. Nice, simple, two little rocks, leading line straight through into the mountain in the background. At this point I'm starting to get some light cast on the top of that mountain, and I really tried to bring that out. I even added a little bit of colour warmth to the top of the mountain to try and emphasise the colour that was coming from the sun. Really happy with that shot. But then I started getting a bit more creative. And remember at the beginning I started saying that I was going to see if I preferred having no tripod versus having a tripod. And I wouldn't say I prefer not having a tripod, but it definitely opened up my creativity, and I definitely started playing a little bit more. And I was thinking, like, how could I advertise Scarpa? You know, so I've got Pauline to stand on between the rocks. I've got the mountain in the background, so it's giving that feeling of mountainous. But then I've got Pauline stood there, and you can see the label Scarpa on the side. I haven't quite gone in there and lightened it up. Something I might play with a little bit later on. But really happy with that shot. This was something that was a little bit difficult. No, this shot was something that was a little bit difficult because I didn't have a tripod to do a panorama. So what I was doing, I was putting my camera on a fast shutter speed and standing there and then panning across and spraying and taking lots and lots of shots. And then when I bring it back into the computer, the idea was to then let Photoshop choose the points that were nice and sharp and put it together. Now there was a problem with this. I lost this shot and I was super excited about this composition, but because I panned across as it was happening, you can see just here that it's blurred and completely ruined. And if I'd had that tripod, I'd have had that steady base. I'd have been able to take a shot, pan across, take a shot, pan across, take a shot, pan across. But because I didn't have a tripod, I just shot, 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 shot. But this one ended up super soft and I couldn't fix it. There wasn't a slide that was sharp, which was a huge missed opportunity. Super sad about that. But they're the shots that I captured that morning, or at least the shots that I'm wanting to share. I captured many, many more, and that's what I wanted to get across. The ability to be able to go out and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and not be held back by a tripod was quite nice. It was freeing. And next week's video is even more freeing. And you'll see next week's video where I go and explore and do more of an adventure vlog versus just this is me taking pictures. So be sure to check that out because it was pretty epic. But I will leave the pictures again in a little bit more detail at the end. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been, again, a little bit different to what I normally take, but I think that's good that I'm not always doing the same thing. But yeah, have a lovely week and I will see you next time. Peace out, peeps.